Quite a start to the morning for me. Ulster 15-10 over Munster. Big win. They retained their undefeated status. Munster first loss of the season in the Pro 14. And Leinster go down at home, apparently for the first time ever at the RDS to Connacht. Pretty crazy start to the morning. I did end up watching these games simultaneously, not for the whole game though, because I started this game late. So by the time I was just before half time in this game was starting, where obviously in real life this game had already finished. There's probably about 20 minutes overall where I had to watch the games at the same time, which means you do miss things, so I'll be keen to hear your guys' insights into the game as well, both games. And as always, I'll let you guys know what I saw, some of the kind of cool moments, and the stats and whatnot. And yeah, you guys can let me know what you reckon too. So the first one, Ulster against Munster. Crazy start, to be honest. Like, Ulster scored a couple of quick tries in those first 20 minutes, and pretty slick as well. Munster weren't able to get over the line until right at the death, and the game was already done and dusted by the time they scored that try. Like, it finishes 15-10, which looks like it was within striking distance, but by the time they scored that try, the game was already, as always, going to go Ulster's way. Ulster had all the ball early, man. They were not going for 3 points, and apparently, according to the commentators, because I don't watch enough Pro 14 to know, but they're not a team that likes to go for the 3. They like to go for touch, and I mean they ended up knocking on from the maul, but it didn't matter because Matt Faddis got their first try like 2 minutes later. Not long after their maul had failed, they had a line out. Munster clear it. Ulster get the line out. Their line out move ends up with Stockdale passing it to Faddis over on the right wing. Stockdale managed to beat his man, so it ended up being a 2-on-1. Faddis goes over on the right wing. It's a good take from him as well because the pass wasn't an easy one. He had to reach out and bring it in. And they missed the conversion, so it's 5-0. 5-0, pretty slick try to start things off. Munster went through a load of phases. They won a penalty. They did opt for the 3 points, so it's 5-3. And yeah, the game was kind of settling in at that point. I thought Ulster, though, to be fair, in the first half, looked the more dangerous of the two teams. They were finding quite a bit of space out wide. They got a try on 16 minutes. That one was some proper magic. Try of the game. There's only 3 tries in the game. It's try of the game. Billy Burns kicked past to McElroy over on the left wing. And, that space on the wings that I mentioned, they exploited it. So, 12 points to 3. Interestingly, on 20 minutes, Munster made the shift immediately to not opt for 3. Like when they played Claremont the other day, they stuck to their guns of like, we're going to take the points and keep the scoreboard ticking over. In this one, they decided to go for the maul, but Munster's maul was like initially shut down, and when they went to the backs, Ulster's defenders came out of the line and shut that down as well. There was a bit of handbags between McCloskey and Scannell, but that's a bit of feeling in the game. So we'll take that. 28 minutes. Ulster also switched their tack. They opted for 3 on 28 minutes. I thought Burns was looking dangerous, and it's 15-3. That's the last of the scoring for Ulster. It's like before half-time. So they don't score any more points. All their points are done and dusted. We don't see any points for a wee while. Ulster, I thought their defense and their turnovers were especially good, and that kind of plays out a little bit in the stats from both sides, I guess. There's a good moment from Shane Daly where he pinched the ball at the back of an Ulster ruck, which is a little bit careless from Ulster and quick thinking from Daly. Ulster had a penalty on attack. They tapped it. They got advantage again. And there was one moment where I swear they had numbers wide for days, and Marcel Coetzee got the ball. I could hear Faddis calling for it, and Coetzee just took it back into the traffic. I know he's a big ball carrier. He's got some really good numbers. He's got some really good tries this season, but man, I think that one needed to go. And I think Treadwell eventually loses the ball over the line, so Munster's defence holds. Eventually, though, Billy Holland gets yellow carded for Munster conceding too many penalties. They are under quite a bit of pressure. But it's like that moment with the yellow card makes the team click. Like they suddenly fire up. you've already got yourselves into a tricky position by being 15-3 down. But the yellow card, they never look like conceding any points during that yellow card. If anything, Munster, Munster was the one like more threatening overall. I think they did get one defensive turnover initially after the yellow card to get themselves out of jail. They opted for a 3 on 63 minutes, but they missed it just wide. At least to run the clock down a little bit. I wrote in big capital letters, fired up since the yellow card. They were getting turnovers to break down like crazy. Yellow card over. I wrote well played Munster because, yeah, man, they really clicked. 69 minutes. Maul for Munster. Ulster's defence held it out pretty well. It went pretty close, and I know Munster's maul is a pretty tricky thing to stop. 76 Munster got held up. There was a hand under it. 79 minutes. Ulster's turn for a warning for a yellow card. They do get yellow carded from the scrum, and eventually, I wrote at last, Sweetenham gets the try, but it's after the clock's already in the red zone. And yeah, they kicked the conversion. So 15-10 is the way it finishes. But yeah, man, it was a crazy game. Like, I think both sides could have scored certainly more points, but the defenses were able to do their job and get those turnovers. That's the one area where Munster actually got the good stats, because you look at the possession, 56-44, likewise the territory for Ulster. They've got a higher tackling percentage, interestingly enough, but Munster made about 40 more tackles than Ulster in this one. But penalties conceded 13-8, so Ulster conceding more, and turnovers won 8-6 in Munster's favour. So yeah, they're still a hard side to break down. But their attacking stats didn't look that pretty. Like, you look at defenders beaten 20-4 in favour of Ulster. Clean breaks 4-1, offloads 5-1. And I know Munster made like 14 changes or something crazy. So maybe this is just to be expected. This is a good growing opportunity for some of the younger guys. But overall, in the scheme of the competition, it's a pretty bloody good win for Ulster, you would have to say. I do like that black Munster jersey. It is pretty slick. I do like that. I'm partial to a black jersey. What can I say? Also, Van Graan is left-handed. I noticed him taking notes during the game. Never knew he was a lefty. Also, the commentator on my feed, he loves Casey. Kept going on about him. And he doesn't like the Welsh, apparently. He was going, man, the Welsh derbies yesterday were boring. Bloody kick tennis, and I was falling asleep on the couch. I'm like, okay. McElroy had 67 run meters. He got man of the match and his try. Holland had 21 tackles despite spending 10 minutes on the Naughty Boys chair, so top tackler of the game. Clota had 5 turnovers, which is the top man. Stockdale had 5 defenders beaten, although he did look to pick up a bit of an injury towards the end. But, yeah, man, like I said, big game. Had its moments. Like, the score's pretty low, but it had some pretty slick moments, and as I mentioned, it was pretty pleasing to see some pretty slick defense and some good turnovers and a couple of moments of magic there as well. And finally, to see the Munster guys get over. I mean, yeah. I don't know. A lot of Munster fans tell me Larkham's doing the business. I'm still not sold on that guy from what I've seen of him in Super Rugby when he was the coach of the Brumbies. But I don't watch enough Pro 14 to be the judge. And maybe I shouldn't be judging the team that had 14 changes for not being as fluid as maybe they should be. But anyway, good game. Good bonus point. Losing one for Munster in the scheme of things, if you're going to look on the bright side. But overall, pretty pleasing result for Ulster. The next one, Leinster at home. Again, a much changed team from what I gather. And Ulster, goodness me, Ulster played in the first game. Connacht get the job done. Man, I thought Carty really ran the show, honestly. That guy, I mean, Sexton went off early, so maybe he had a bit more of a freer run. Like, Sexton went off really early. I didn't write down what minute it was because that's part of the time I was simultaneously watching, but I did see him go off. And, yeah, it was a good performance from Carter. He gets man of the match. 2 tries, well in control of the game with the boot. Some really good moments, and yeah, pretty good with the boot in from hand and from the tee as well. The actual game stuff, it's all down Leinster's end early. They did win an early scrum penalty, but there was a lot of knock-ons both ways. To be honest, it was a bit scrappy early, and then the game comes alive out of nowhere. Cardi on 9 minutes. I think it's Maloney is acting scrum half. He throws a big pass, and Cardi reads it like a book. Intercept. He's under the sticks for a 7-0 early lead to Connacht. And remember, in the preview, I think the bookies had these guys getting beaten by a load. So the fact they got a win was massive. I wrote down that Connacht's defence is looking aggressive because they were all up in Leinster's faces, making them very uncomfortable. They did win a penalty, which they later missed, which I thought was a bit of a let-off. In the scheme of things, I thought they're going to need every point they can get. Turns out they didn't, but you never know. And then Connacht stole a Leinster line-out like it was their own ball. You would have thought it was Connacht's throw based on how cleanly they took that ball. So, yeah, it was a weird one to watch. I was wondering, are Connacht going to be able to keep this up for 80 minutes? Because they seem to be really hitting like a really high pace early. And I think Leinster did really turn the screws on them a bit in the second half. But I will give Connacht credit for going the 80. They look confident. Carty's penalty for touch almost went dead, but then it was time for a Leinster line-out steal. I think it was Devon Toner. His was like a proper scrappy line-out steal, like rather than it looking like a thing of beauty, but that's what he does. And I thought maybe that's a momentum shifter. Maybe this is where Leinster kind of wake up. They've been under the pump for, 20-odd minutes. But then it's another Connacht try. And it's Cardi again. He gets driven over, to be fair. It's more like a forwards try. But, yeah, man, they kept the ball going quickly after an initial break. They didn't let the ball get slowed down. And quick ball gets tries. 12-0. 12-0. That being said, Penny gets the next try for Leinster, and I thought Luke McGrath, like on a losing side, and he's maybe showing a bit of his experience, he was trying to pull the team by the scruff of the neck, wasn't he? Luke McGrath. It's him that sets up the try from the side of the ruck, and McGrath just puts him into a gap, and it's just too easy. The Connacht defence for that one was a bit soft. They missed the conversion. This is just after Sexton's gone off, I think, so it's 12-5. Kickable conversion, but again, not your normal guy kicking. Connacht take a penalty on half an hour to make it 15-5. I thought their chase pressure was pretty immense. When they were kicking the ball, and they get a lot of kick meters, which I'll get to later, they were putting the Leinster guys under lots of pressure by actually putting in some good chases. And this is what I mean about I didn't think they were going to be able to do this for 80 minutes. They won a penalty in Leinster's 22 from like that kick chase, and it was 18-5. I thought that was going to be halftime, but there's one more try. Wooten's one right before halftime. That one was just some really slick passing to get the ball out wide. And it's suddenly, 25-5 at halftime? That's madness. All the preview stuff said these guys are going to get a hiding. Second half, though, I'm wondering, okay, Cullen's going to have a word with the guys. Surely they're going to turn things around in the second half. It looks like they maybe are, because McGrath, that man I mentioned, he gets the first try of the second half, and I wrote that it was kind of like a dummy with his eyes, eh? I don't think he actually dummied the ball. He just looked like he was looking left and running straight, and everyone just thought he's going to pass it, he's going to pass it, he's going to pass it. He goes over. Class. 25-12. Connacht get another penalty. I wrote chance to settle it down after that kind of soft try again. 28-12. Bit of a head clash. I forget who it was. I think Quinn Rue came off second best anyway. And then 56 minutes. Man, Sean Cronin. I forgot how quick he is for a hooker, isn't he? Like, he's like Dane Coles down here in New Zealand. Proper gas. He's like a guy who wanted to play wing, but ended up in the front row. He gets the pass to Baird, who goes over for a try. 28-17. I wrote there's a proper thing of beauty try down the right wing for Leinster, and it looks like real trouble at this point. A couple of quick-fire tries, but they call that one back for obstruction, so it's a penalty to Connacht. And on 72 minutes, that's the moment I wrote game over when Daly got his try. Intercept one for him. He made it through a couple of tackles around his ankles. Bonus point try. He had a half smile on his face as he was going to score that try. And Cardi did a wise move of taking a fairly long time to take that kick. So it's 35-17. 17. Leinster do get one last one through Ed Byrne. Right at the death, the TMO had to have a look at it, but they ended up giving it, so it's 35-24. So like Munster, they do walk away with a bonus point there for scoring 4 tries rather than for getting within the 7. But that's certainly a bright side on an otherwise disappointing performance from them. But man, take nothing away from Connacht. They were bloody good. They were very, very good. Interestingly, their celebrations were pretty muted. I thought their celebrations would have been bigger, given it was their first win at the RDS, but no, just a quick huddle, and then game over. Possession 59-41 to Leinster, likewise territory 55-45. But look at the kick meters, 524 for Leinster, 938 for Connacht. Yeah, they didn't want to be running anything back at Leinster. They didn't have to. And often they won those kicking duels. Turnovers won also 9-3 in favour of Connacht. So, yeah, give credit to those guys, man. That's a proper shift they put in. Leinster's, 26 game Pro 14 streak is done, which is, that's going to be a hard one to match. As I mentioned, first win at the RDS for Connacht. I'm glad I was there to witness that. Buckley had 17 tackles, which was a bit of a shift as well. McGrath led the clean breaks in this game with 2. Cardi had the most run meters, I think, with 63. Yeah, good game. Good game. Certainly a fair few tries. Big result. How this works out in the scheme of things will be an interesting one to watch. Like I said, I don't watch enough Pro 14 to get a feeling of where these teams are at this season, but man, I was pretty happy that I saw those games. Anyway, you guys let me know what you thought about these games. If you're a Connacht fan, how pleased are you? If you're a Leinster fan, are you kind of philosophical that there were a fair few big names out of this game, or are you bitterly disappointed that your team's run is broken? Likewise, Munster fans, to drop your first game in the Pro 14 this season is a bit of a bitter pill, or again, are you kind of happy to take an away bonus point? Ulster, I don't think you can have much to complain about, seeing as you're still undefeated. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one. Talk to you again soon. See you later.